Hi everybody, I'm Alison, the online piano tutor. Today I thought I would just quickly talk you through what piano to buy. If you're a complete and utter beginner, perhaps you've just started lessons or perhaps you're just starting out on lessons and you have absolutely no idea on what to buy, hopefully this video is going to give you some help that you need. What I would normally suggest to my students when you're first starting out, especially if you've never done the piano before, you've never had a lesson in your life, never had a music lesson or anything in your life, obviously you don't know whether this is something you're going to continue with. So what I would normally suggest is that you just go out and perhaps just buy maybe a cheap keyboard from something like Argos, so you're not spending too much money, 50, 60 pounds, something like that, just to start with. It really isn't ideal, but it's just enough to get you started with. Then a few weeks down the line or a few months down the line, when you're really getting into the lessons, you're enjoying it, you're practicing and you know it's for you, then you can go out and buy something a little bit more advanced to suit you. So that's the first option of just going out and getting a cheap keyboard. The second thing you can do is if you're already past that stage and you do want to invest and you have got some money to invest in an actual piano, there are two options with that. You can buy an acoustic piano, which would be sort of your normal kind of upright piano if you like, or you can buy a digital piano, which is actually the one that I use in the background. This is a Yamaha Clavinova, it's a CLP 170. I bought this quite a few years ago, but it was top of the range when I bought it. But it's a fabulous instrument and I really, really like it. Now when you're having a look at buying an acoustic piano, I would be very careful when you're buying a second-hand acoustic piano. Some of my students in the past have tried to get hold of cheap acoustic pianos for maybe £100, but sometimes they're actually worse than getting a cheap keyboard. Sometimes acoustic pianos can be in very, very, very poor condition. They can be very difficult to tune and sometimes they require so much work doing to them that it just really isn't worth the value of paying all that money out to get them fixed. So just watch out for that. If you can buy a brand new acoustic piano, that's obviously ideal because you're getting a nice instrument there. Or you can go to music shops and get second-hand acoustic pianos where people have traded them in for something else, or perhaps they don't want them anymore and they've sort of sold them back to the shop. At least with a shop, you should get some sort of warranty from the shop as well, and you'll know that they've looked it over and they'll tune it for you and all that kind of good stuff. So if you wanted to go down the digital piano route, they can be quite good for a number of reasons. The cons with them, obviously they're digital, so they're not like acoustic pianos, so they're not going to sound quite the same as acoustic pianos. However, because they're digital pianos, they can be really, really good space savers too. So if you've got a small area in your house that you haven't perhaps got enough room for acoustic piano, but you could fit a digital piano in nicely, that would be a really good option for you, a good compromise perhaps. The one thing to look for with digital pianos is that the keys must be weighted and they must be touch sensitive. Now, by weighted keys, most of you would probably have felt a piano at some point in your life, but weighted keys are where they do what they say on the tin really, that the keys generally feel quite weighted. They feel like there's some pressure behind them. When you're pushing the keys down, there's almost a little bit of resistance, and that's exactly what we want. When you're looking at touch sensitive keys, they're normally, the harder you hit the keys, the louder the sound. The softer the keys, the softer you hit the keys, then obviously the softer the sound. Now some keyboards do have a touch sensitive function on them, but that's really not much good if they don't have the weighted keys with them, which for a keyboard they probably won't. So hence why if you are going to get serious on the piano and you're going to move on to doing exams, you do need to get yourself something with weighted keys and touch sensitive keys. Now another good thing about the digital pianos as well is that they don't need tuning. The acoustic pianos, you need them tuning maybe twice a year, something like that. You shouldn't move acoustic pianos either because the more you move them, the more out of tune they go. But obviously if you found a nice little cosy slot in your house, then there'd be no need to move. Digital pianos, you don't have to have them tuned because they're digital inside. I suppose the only downside would be is that if you get a power cut, but I mean that doesn't happen, that's never happened, touch wood, that's never happened to me so far when I've been teaching. If you couldn't quite afford a digital piano or an acoustic piano, there are kind of what I would call hybrids between keyboards and digital pianos. So they're a little bit more than a keyboard, but they're not quite a digital piano. They normally look very similar to a keyboard, but they have the weighted and the touch sensitive keys as you would find on a piano. And you can sit them on any surface. So some of them come with stands as well that you can put them on. These can be really good as well because they're in and around the sort of £500-ish mark, maybe a little bit more, a little bit less, but something around then. And they're also really good space savers too. With digital and acoustic pianos, I would say the more money you can spend, the better you're going to get out of them. So if of course you are lucky enough to have lots of money, the other option for you is to buy a grand piano of some sort. I would absolutely love to have a grand piano, but obviously I haven't got any room in my house to put a grand piano. But you can get a baby grand, slightly smaller, or a full-size grand, but they are going to be costing you around £10,000 or so. Don't quote me on that, but around that kind of price and upwards. So thanks very much for watching. I hope that was helpful too. If you have any comments, just leave them in the bar underneath and I'll try and get back to you as soon as I can. But don't forget to check out my other videos.